You are listening to the People-Centric Podcast, where we talk through the toughest challenges that people face at work and give practical advice to fixing those challenges. Thanks for joining our movement to create workplaces that are happier, healthier, aligned, and empowered by putting people at the center of all that we do.
Leaders. Okay, we've got a very interesting topic here for you today. One of the things that we have noticed working with lots of different clients in lots of different spaces is that there are a lot of people who are watching what's going on in the news today, and they're watching what's going on in politics, and they're watching what's going on in the economics. Is there a recession coming? Are politics getting bad? Are there fights in Congress? Are we never going to move forward? And there's protests and people taking over stuff, and the business outlook doesn't look good in the economic. And what we're starting to see is that people are struggling a little bit here in a lot of different space. Some people are feeling not maybe outright depressed. You know, depression is a very serious condition, and it's generally feeling sad. It's hard to get out of bed, those types of things. But they're not quite feeling that way, but they are feeling just kind of bleh. Like, I can't get past something. And there's actually a clinical name for this, and it's this idea of languishing. Now, as we get into this topic, languishing, of just feeling kind of blah, I'm going to tell you something from our team right here. As we talked about this topic, this is kind of, I don't want to say a controversial topic for our team, but you're going to hear some different perspectives on this. We are not going to coddle you today. If you're languishing a little bit, you're listening to this podcast, you're going to hear some just blunt advice on some things to maybe help you to try to snap out of this, or maybe we will coddle you today a little bit. I don't know. It's going to be a little bit of our team's coming at this. We want to be real along with this as we talk to you. So stay tuned here. We're going to jump into this topic and see where this goes. I think this one's going to be a lot of fun. So
I have never been more excited about a podcast. Like, just the fact that you're like, yeah, some of us are going to tell you the hard facts. I'm in.
Here's what it is. Get off your butt, right, Diana? Just make this happen.
Yep,
just do this thing, right?
It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Man.
Stephanie, are you languishing right now?
I maybe just started.
Oh, just started just now.
As soon as we logged on, that was it for her.
We'll stop it.
No, I'm just kidding. This is great. Let's keep going.
Okay. All right. Bethany, how do you feel? How do you feel about this topic? Are you excited about this one?
I actually am, because I think that it's really relevant, and I think we should talk about it. I didn't even realize there was a word specifically to talk about this. So
yeah, and I think that's part of the thing right here. We're in 2023, so we make a word for everything. And we've been talking about that last few podcasts, right? There's so many words, and a lot of them are old concepts and things that have happened. It's not like languishing never happened before. We just didn't have language to be able to put that in front of us all. Yeah.
Buzzword. It is today. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Matt, I want to move to you here a little bit on this topic, because I know that this is like pulling teeth a little bit for you here on this topic. Talk a little bit about maybe like why are you not as excited about this one, if you don't mind?
Well, Don, thank you for throwing that to me. Why I'm not as excited about it. It seems like we get, I don't know. I think like what you just said, I'm trying to choose my words, because it seems like what you just said there about there's a buzzword for everything. I guarantee you I could make up one and convince everybody it's real tomorrow, and we're going to do a podcast about it. Right. I don't want it. There's a buzzword for everything. And there was a word for this before earlier. And I think it was like from that emoji movie. Remember the meh emoji? That's the word that you're looking for. Who doesn't get meh sometimes? Like, we can call it languishing or whatever you want to call it, but we all kind of dive into that. And you know what? If you're frustrated about where you are, not happy about where you are, then do something different. Then change it. Do something different. You know, you're going to hear these great things from articles that people have written, and maybe I should try something, find something within my strength or what. Yeah, maybe you should. Like that's exactly how it feels like. I don't know. Maybe I was raised differently. I don't know. Maybe I had other people telling me like, "Are you about over that, or when are you going to be over that, so we can get moving forward?" And I think that's the rut. I think that's the rut that people find themselves. I get that we dip into it. Don used the word coddle. I think sometimes I don't want to say, who or what, or, but I think some people just look for it. Like, this is my comfort place, so I'm going to hang out here in the languishing mood. And I don't know, some people have very little patience for that.
Are you attacking me right now, Matt? Because I feel very attacked. Just kidding.
Maybe I feel safer to attack you because you're in Seattle now. It's not like I see you on a regular basis, right? So I can attack you and then deny the video call later whenever it comes in. So anyway, I'm here to add color to this topic because we all, whatever. I mean, it's just part of it, right? You go there. I don't think I need to read an article about it. Like, I get there and then, okay, what do I need to do to change it? I need to change the scenery a little bit, and then let's move forward. But if I consistently find myself there, then Stephanie pointed out this is might be a whole nother issue there, and I'm sure we're going to get into that too. But anyway, that's what I'm bringing to the table today. I don't know who's with me on these listeners, but I know there's got to be some people with me. Like, oh my gosh, I work with some languishers on a regular basis, and it's exhausting sometimes.
Yeah, here's you're going to go back to the Bob Newhart philosophy, right? And the Bob Newhart video that he does if you Google it, it's pretty funny, where he plays a psychiatrist and the people come in and they explain their problem to him. And he just looks at them and just, well, okay, well, just stop it. Just stop it. Knock yourself out of it, right?
Yeah. Do you enjoy doing that? No, I hate it. Well, then why do you do that? Then why you should stop doing that then? It sounds weird, right? It's a pretty funny skit there with Bob Newhart. But anyway, yeah.
And I think there's a lot of space. There's a lot of space in the middle of the old idea of saying, like, okay, just suck it up and rub some dirt on it and move past it. And a lot of mental health issues. Mental health is getting more and more attention. And I think that's a good thing, right? We're shining lights on that. And I think we've all talked about that. And I think we're all in favor of that part of that. But on the flip side of that, I think sometimes when you talk about something a lot in terms of different topics, then sometimes people fall back into that thing. Well, maybe I have that. Maybe I'm struggling with that, right? Maybe that's how it labels me, and maybe that's who I am. Maybe that's okay for me.
Bethany called me out earlier before we started hit record, and no, I didn't. Maybe I was attacked. I don't know. But Bethany, we just did one of those. I can't remember, working genius personality things, and I came back as a motivator, cheerleader, encourager kind of a thing. And if you've been in an event before and you've heard me speak or whatever, a lot of people put me in that box. I pride myself on lots of energy, encouraging, motivating you to do better. And I still think it fits, even with my quote unquote, maybe pessimistic view on the idea of languishing, because I love to help people achieve whatever's best in them. I love to help mentor people, and then I will actively work to try to promote you to do what it is that you want to do. Where I fall off of that is if you keep running into excuses of why you can't. Like, that gets exhausting. Like, either do it or don't do it. If you want to do it, I will help you. And I will be your biggest encourager. But if you continue to fall back, maybe work on some stuff and then let me know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's difficult to give insights as consultants to work with somebody who just consistently just says, oh, life isn't great. I don't know how to get out of it. And I'm not going to move on anything. I'm not going to do anything if they feel stuck, right? Our goal is momentum for everybody. And I think that's the goal of this topic here, is to give you some momentum out of that. So if you can identify yourself in this position, and just to kind of define this a little bit further, we think about what's the difference between languishing and depression. Depression is when you're down, right? You're sad a lot. You have trouble moving, like you have trouble getting up out of bed, those kind of things. Languishing is a little bit different from that, right? Flourishing is the other side of it. It's where you feel happy and have a generally good attitude about things. Languishing is kind of in the middle. It's kind of like you don't really feel much about anything. Like, how's your job? It's okay, whatever. I think of the movie City Slickers, right? There's the movie, it's the old Billy Crystal movie, when he's in that and he goes through his life and he's languishing. Clearly, he is like definition of languishing. How's his job? It's fine. I don't know. It's just there. He doesn't really like his vacations and stuff are kind of lame. He just doesn't feel his family. He doesn't feel like a great connection to or anything like that. And then at the end of the movie, I think he does a very kind of like Matt, what you're talking about here, I think, is at the end of the movie that his wife asks him, well, are you going to go get a new job and all that kind of stuff? And he ends up by saying, no, I'm just going to do it better. I'm just going to spend more time on it. And I think there's some message to that in terms of the languishing idea, right? And I think it comes with people it comes with employees. We see that do that. It comes with bosses who do that. It's even more, what's the impact? Let's start there. Like, what's the impact if the boss or leader of a team is struggling a little bit? Like, what's the impact on the team and what's the impact back to the boss?
I think anytime a boss is feeling almost anything, your people feel it too. So people are very perceptive and they pick up on the things, and bosses have a lot of like weird mental authority over employees. Like we listen to what our bosses say most of the time. And so if a boss is coming and saying, the world is falling apart, we don't know what's going to happen, I feel like the company is making big mistakes or whatever, the employees are going to feel all of that too. It definitely brings everybody to the same level, that same doom and gloom type feeling.
Especially if you're an effective leader. Because we talked about this before. Sometimes people define effective leadership as somebody who is a positive leader, but we defined effective leadership as something a little bit different. A leader is somebody who influences others. So an effective leader is somebody who effectively influences others. If people follow you and they have a lot of respect for you, and you start to go to work and talk about, hey, there may be no future here. I don't know what this is going to hold. I've got a lot of uncertainty. I'm not really excited about it. And you come in low energy, it does impact the rest of the team for sure. It adds up to that.
Well, and what I'd say, like where this maybe has become a buzzy word is like we have lived through a global pandemic, and there was a period of time where all of us kind of felt this way, a little bit of like, I don't know what I can look forward to right now. And like everything got canceled, and there's so much that's outside of my control that I can really do. And it's that kind of feeling of like stagnation and emptiness in some ways. And so I think what I'm seeing is that like, yeah, there are some of us who kind of like got through that thought process maybe quickly. And like, Matt, not to call you out, like, I think that's maybe where you are, and that's awesome. I think there are other people that they're maybe still there a little bit, and it's taking them longer to process like everything that's happened. And then it feels like it keeps happening. And so it's like, well, how do I feel excited about like things? Because what if the whole ship upends again,
Yeah. And I was going to say, I think that sometimes, and I think before we talked about this too, Matt, you said like, we've all had that meh, like we've all been there before. Like, and I think that that's the point is like, yes. And we go through seasons of that. And ideally we don't stay, because you're right. There are people who sometimes stay in that, and they're just like always languishing, and that's really frustrating to be on a team with somebody who is like that all the time. But I think that everybody goes through these seasons of like, we'll use the word languishing, or just the meh, like nothing seems great, like we're not excited about anything, we just feel stuck. But I think that for anybody who's been in that, which we all have, nobody wants to be there. And sometimes it's hard to get out of that mindset. And if you've been, even if, we talked about depression, but like if you've ever had anxiety too, it's the mindset in that too is very much like, this is the worst. I hate being in this. I have no idea how to get out. I'm trying to just think positively, or I'm trying to do something different. And it's like, you're trying to like, I don't know, will your way into like non-anxiety. And I think it's similar in these situations. It's like sometimes your brain is just cycling and you don't know how to push out of that, but it's the thing that you want the most. And so I think that's where we want to talk about, like, what are there some things that we can do to move out of this kind of mental state?
Yeah, I like this topic, and I think we're jumping into this, even though we don't. In some topics, when we meet with you all here on this podcast, we're bringing something like communication styles, and we're all very aligned in terms of what this is. I think this is a weird kind of a different kind of a topic, but I think the reason that I like it so much is I think we want to join the movement of normalizing some of the mental health challenges that people have. You're absolutely right, Bethany. The rational brain can look at something that's happening to yourself and know that you shouldn't be like that, but that doesn't mean that you can break out of it. I've suffered from panic attacks before, and when you know what a panic attack is, and I've sat in the hospital ER thinking I was having a heart attack before, and the doctor's got all the machines hooked up to you and says, you're not having a heart attack. So your brain's like, okay, great. I'm not having a heart attack. Then why do I feel like this? It's a challenge in terms of, you can't just think your way out of that. You can't will your way out of it. So, and I think the same thing can happen in languishing, except that languishing, you're probably not going to seek out help for it. A lot of times you're just like, oh, I just feel kind of down about things, especially then I think if you're a leader of a team. And, we've talked about in the past podcast episode, what do teams need from their leaders, from their managers? They need compassion, stability, hope, and trust is what they need. And if you think about a leader who is languishing, you might be taking away some of that stability, right? You might forget about the compassion piece. You might especially not be presenting that hope piece to that. And then if the team starts to feel that, then the team starts to languish a little bit, to use that term. And if the team's languishing, then you get into the cycle, and now it's hard to break out of that. So let's talk a little bit about maybe how to break out of that cycle. Like whether that's rub some dirt on it and suck it up, or take some next steps, or do something different, or change your environment. What are some of the tips that we might have if you're in that case, whether you're a leader, employee, or a manager, or an employee, whoever you are?
I don't have a tip yet, but I will say that I think just assigning a name to it helps me. Assigning what this thing is and giving it language helps me recognize things in myself. And then sometimes it'll just go away then. I'm like, oh, I've identified it. I don't have to dwell on it. I don't have to think about it as much. This is what it is. So I think the first step is just identifying if you're going through this or not. Put a name to it.
I like that. So recognize it's not that you're fundamentally broken. Maybe your job is not a terrible job, or the world's not really falling apart around you, or nothing is exciting anymore. That maybe there is something that is an opportunity to change something, right? I think that's good. What else can we do?
I would say like also focus on setting like small realistic goals for yourself. And if you need like an accountability person to help you get out of that funk, like I think that's great. And that's where like if you have a Matt Griswold in your life who can help encourage you, like share with that person, like, hey, like I feel like I want to set some small realistic goals for myself. So I feel like I'm moving forward right now, that I feel there's purpose in my days, find that spark of joy for yourself. Like I can do this every day and it makes me feel like I'm not stagnant, like I'm making progress towards something, and share that with a friend, maybe even do that together. I mean, a lot of I think tips you'll hear online will talk about like physically moving your body or doing something like that. Like maybe take a walk with a friend if that's going to be helpful for you, or look at your big word goals for the year. And instead of being like, like what's one small little thing you could do that maybe you actually would enjoy doing, and if you accomplished it, it would feel really good. That doesn't have to mean you just like accomplished a whole key objective for the company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's that you're talking about that progress, being able to feel like you've made progress on something. And I think that's where sometimes when you see this like languishing, this meh state that you're in, like at work, it's maybe because you're running into lots of barriers or you're doing things that just like maybe you're not great at, or you're just stuck in some of the work that just doesn't bring you a lot of joy, and you might just have to do it. And that might be just a thing you have to kind of get through. But if there's a way to kind of reevaluate and say, like, where am I spending my time right now at work? And am I doing a bunch of stuff that's like not necessary? Can we make a change with that somehow? Is like, maybe it needs to like be a conversation that you bring back to your team or your manager and talk about, like, honestly, when I look at my day, here's where I'm spending a bulk of my time, and I feel like it's sucking the life out of me. And can you have a conversation about it and say, like, am I doing this wrong? Can we do this a different way? Do I need to do, like, what can I change here to make this different? And I think that's one way you could look at that at work.
Yeah, and I don't think you have to do that to try to improve efficiency. I think sometimes we make the mistake of that, of saying, like you said, like work on the things that you don't work on, the things you don't have to work on, like focus on different areas. But sometimes you may want to work on something that maybe isn't as important. I know, like going into this year and everything, as I was looking at the year, it was like, holy cow, we've got a bunch of trips coming up. We've got a bunch of new clients. We've got a bunch of stuff coming up. And I have a whole bunch of tasks working on things. So the last couple of days, I have taken a step back and said, like, I need to reorganize. I got to set the field. And it's not the most important things that I needed to do. It's not the most urgent things I needed to do, but it helped me to just be able to see it. It's like my gut was telling me I needed to do those things. So like I set up a calendar for the entire year. I put like which events are we going to, so I could lay that out. So that was in front of me. I looked at some of the travel and the trips that were coming up so that I could see that. None of that stuff was like, boy, that stuff had to be done right now. It was more of giving me some space to be able to use my own strengths and my creativity and kind of fall back to a place that made me feel better about my situation. Sometimes you just pause. I think it's really important too, as we talk about this term, to go back to it, is that if you have ever felt meh, I hope you're not hearing this and saying, wow, I have a serious mental health condition. If you've ever felt meh, my guess is just because you're human, right? Because I think we've all felt like that before. But like if you think about it, like short term, if you felt that way, like I was thinking about like Matt and I have traveled quite a bit together, and a lot of times we'll go to conferences which are a little bit longer, and we'll be together for 3 or 4 days at a time traveling, and sometimes we're in the car together traveling from different places to different places like that. And there's times where you just kind of hit a wall. And I think it's been just about every trip there's a moment where both of us hit a wall, and you're just like, and you're probably short-term languishing, right? If we're going to put a word on it, but you just hit the wall. And I think that both of us are pretty good at like, okay, well, we don't have to force conversation. We can put the radio on, we can sing a song, just do something a little bit different. Let's go see. One of the things that like we've done is go mix in on trips that we've taken, mix in a trip like visit a landmark or a history or a museum or something like that, just to kind of do something a little bit different to shift gears. I think that kind of helps the brain to reset a little bit, and it gets you energized. Or just take a minute and we'll go sit in a bar someplace and try a new bourbon and just do that, and not have to think about the detailed stuff in front of you. I think the message is just to change something if you're stuck.
Which is a proactive approach to it, right? I mean, just change. Stephanie, you talked about during COVID. Yeah, lots of things were shut down. We were used to going all the time. But honestly, like I'm going to say this might be controversial. Like we did great through. That's when we bought a camper and a boat. Like we found new hobbies. Are you kidding? Like that was pretty cool. That's why I own a camper, and that is why I own a boat, because COVID happened and all the ball games were canceled, and it kind of just made us take a step back and reset. And dang, that's the best. That was the best thing for us, right? And so it wasn't like, dang it, there's no ball games. It was like, well, what else you want to jump into? Same thing with getting your body in motion. Like it's an either you want to or you don't want to kind of a thing. You have to. I could totally melt away into my couch or whatever and just look at TikToks, but then there's something in me that's like, I gotta move. I have to do something, and I have to get up and go. But again, you got to proactively kind of want to do it too. We've done that podcast about you got to kind of want to, like we can encourage and we can kick or whatever, like we can push those buttons, but at the end of the day, you got to kind of want to do it. And I think that's one of those things. Okay, here's the hand that you're dealt. What do you want to do? What's your play? Which way do you want to go? And then it's up to you to be able to make that proactive judgment call to kind of make the best out of that situation. But yeah, I get it. COVID was COVID, but we picked up 2 awesome hobbies during COVID, and that was one of the best things in the world for us.
Yeah, and I think that's why it was the best things in the world for you, right? It's the flip of that, is because you picked up those hobbies and you decided, I'm not going to fall into this new rhythm of sitting at home and in my room with my doors locked and so afraid of other people, that you leaned into that and it look back at it and say, like, actually, it was a pretty good time for myself,
Great.
Yeah. And sometimes even if you don't want to, like we started habits, like I found myself like when I'm getting home last year, at the end of last year, like you're just tired, and we work pretty hard, and I got into a rhythm of like, okay, we'll eat dinner, and then I go into my office and I collapse on my easy chair and I put on Netflix or Hulu or something, or binge watch a show or something like that every night. And you get into those kind of habits, and then you do that for a long time because it's a habit, and then you look at yourself and go, like, my energy level's low. And sometimes there's a moment where you're like, I need to change something. And maybe you don't want to change something, but short term, then you do change it. And then pretty well, it's like you have to get over a little bit of a hump to get past that.
John, to your point, too, the other side of that, like when we're at those events, like I thrive on being, if you're listening to this and you've been at an event where I'm at, like I thrive on being around you. You give me energy. I love it. But at the same time, I do need a minute every now and again. And Don and I'll have those moments too, where like, hey, we have an hour before dinner. You want to hang out for an hour? Like, no, I'd rather go kick my shoes off for an hour than just give me a minute. Like you have to make a proactive approach to also not do as much as you have to make a proactive approach to do, if that makes sense. So like I'll proactively say like, nah, I'm gonna go kick my shoes off, maybe call the family or whatever, talk to the kids. I'll meet you downstairs in 45 minutes. And it's just that little proactiveness to choose not to do sometimes also that gives you the opportunity to do more later. Dang, yeah. That was good. Did anybody write that down? Like that was
kick off your shoes and go to the room sometimes. No, yeah.
Choose not to do so you can do.
And I think what's cool is that Matt and I have a good enough relationship that we can be there, and you don't take that personally. and we both done that before. And sometimes the other person feels like, no, I want to go get a drink and let's go hang out. And the other person's like, nope, I need to recharge for a minute. I'm going to go do this. And it's like, okay, that's totally cool. But then there's times where we both feel really good and like, okay, I'll go down to the hotel and we'll go hang out there and we'll grab a group of people and come sit at the table with us and do all the kinds of stuff and
Go see
have fun
Lincoln's
with it.
birthplace. Yeah, let's mix in an excursion while we're here. Sure,
Yeah,
let's do it.
for the record, we didn't make it all the way to Lincoln's birthplace, which is going to be on the list for the next trip. We had to stop
I
at that
like-
burger place. Yeah.
I like what you said though, Matt, because you said something like you're choosing things to say no to so you can say yes to other things. And I think that's really, I think that's a really good tip for people, like any time of your life, however you're feeling is, but especially in a season where everything is just feeling like meh, like languishing, where like be kind of picky with your time and be able to say, like, if you are not able to say yes to friends and family or whatever it is, because you're doing X, Y, Z, everything else, then like make some change, like set some boundaries on your life and adjust your schedule or, whatever, even if it's good things that you have to say no to so that you can say yes to the other things. And so I think that's a great tip.
Yeah, I'll add to that of like, rest in a way that is actually restful. I think like the trap that a lot of people fall into, and because there's like so much content in the world and everyone tells me every day a different show I should be watching or a different podcast I should be doing or something I should try. It's easy to sometimes like find yourself like doing too much or trying too much, or someone will recommend to you, oh, you should do this, and realizing sometimes we're doing a lot of things that kind of should be restful, but maybe to us aren't. So like learn, like do some introspection or learn about yourself, or start even just keeping track of like, what does bring me a lot of energy and joy. And man, I love doing that. And yeah, but if I do that too much, kind to Matt's point, and I'm super extroverted too. I love being around people, but if I do it too much, then I hit a point where I'm like, I need an hour of silence alone to rest and recharge. And for me, it's like, I have to do that. And so, for some of us, I don't want to crap on watching Netflix. Like if you have a show that really does like stimulate your brain and get you excited about something in your life, okay, maybe that is restful, and because it gets you into a flow, or figure out what is that thing that actually feels restful. And then what are the things that really bring you that energy and joy, and start kind of trying to balance your life more in that way. Because my guess is that a lot of people who feel languishing, it's like, we're resting, quote unquote, but it's not really recharging us. We're just scrolling.
We have a time management PowerPoint that we've done for a lot of years. I haven't actually done that one for a while, but in that there's some sort of a quadrant there, Don. You don't know what I'm talking about. And one of those things talks about also basically eliminating mind-numbing activity to be more effective with your management. But I push back on that and say, I think there's a time and a place for a mind-numbing activity, just to kind of hang out and do nothing. I can't stay there, but I think it's important to be able to have that mind-numbing do nothing activity too. I would say this, and I don't know if this is the tough love part, but if you are still listening to this and you're going, yeah, but you don't understand my circumstances of my job, my boss is just really blah, 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 or you don't understand this about my job, this thing about my job is just blah, 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 then don't do it anymore. You voluntarily choose to work there. Go find something that brings you joy then. If you can't get past it, I know that they talked about having conversations or raising things to light. Fine. It is not your job to change that organization though. If that organization, the thing that you are being asked to do, don't be a crappy employee. Just don't do that job. Go find something else that gives you opportunity in life then. Help yourself out of some of that too. And sometimes we just choose to stay there because woe is me. No. Help yourself. Don't choose to do that thing anymore. Be proactive with that too.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that and say like, yeah, you don't have to do that. And there are other jobs out there. And even if you just need to find something else for a little while, like do the right thing for you. And I really like what you said, Matt, of like, it's not your responsibility to save the whole company. Like I've been in that place before where it was like, man, like I just was not in a good mental place because of everything that was happening at work. And I probably should have quit sooner than I did. But then it felt like, man, like, then if I leave, then this will fall apart and then these good things won't happen and other people are going to be impacted. And, then you become a martyr, in the office that actually saves no one and you don't save yourself. So, I think if you're feeling that way of like, yeah, it's tough love, but it also is love is the key word in that of like, take care of yourself. And if you need to make the change, do what's right for you. There's only one of you. You only have one life to live. Be sure that you're doing the things that are like filling your soul and you're getting to spend time with the people that you love.
Yeah. I think this has been a great discussion. I'm really glad that we did do this topic. We have to remember that, listen, if you're in this and you really are stuck in something, you tried a bunch of different things, I mean, really get help. Like that's the thing that most people need to get some kind of help, mental health help during their lifetime. And it used to be not that long ago that people didn't talk about that, but I'll bet everybody here has had some kind of help from the outside there in terms of those things. And I think it's really, really valuable to get that. But you're at the same time, not everything requires that extra help. Sometimes it's just change something. It's maybe you're too focused on, maybe you're out of balance. Maybe you're too focused on work. Maybe you do need to get a camper or a boat or something like that. The two best days of buying the boat are what? The day that you buy it, the day that you sell it later. Isn't that what I've heard?
That's not true. That's not true. Actually, I'm finding that to be not true. Any day that I can get it out is the best day.
There you go.
It's been more than one occasion I've taken a call with at least one of the team members, with a few of you from the boat itself. That's not a bad day. That's not a bad day.
That's not a bad day. And it makes me smile whenever you do that, because your kids are usually with you. They're always out there having fun. And it's really cool to be able to enjoy that stuff. Yeah. I think when we get out of balance or we just need to change something, I think that's our mental way of kind of the low energy is a way of it's an alarm for ourselves. So learn to listen to that alarm for yourself. And especially if you are influential on your team, meaning you have a position of authority or just a lot of people listen to you, or you're just a senior member of that team, be really aware of what impact that can have on the people around you at the same time. It's okay to have a bad day. I'm not telling you can't have a bad day or a bad moment even for those types of things. But if it's hitting you over a longer period of time, change something. And it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be go get a totally new job. Maybe it does, just like Matt said. If it's constantly the job is the problem, then go get something different. There's never been a better time to do that than there is today. But really, it might just be meet a friend for work after work, somebody for work. And if you don't have friends, if you've gotten yourself so stuck into your kids' lives and you've lost the friendships and stuff, find some people that you would like to be friends and invite them out for after work and go hang out. Read a book if you haven't read a book for a while. If you always read books, watch TV or go for a walk or just get some exercise or eat a little bit better or get some more sleep. Just change the things that you can do, and you might be surprised at how you feel. And then you might be surprised at how you lead others. So that's our topic for today. I hope this is beneficial for you. Please let us know if this is something that really has struck you as a topic. We love to hear from you. Please reach out to us, or if you have ideas for other topics, please reach out. But we hope that you, as a people-centric leaders out there, are flourishing and enjoying your life, enjoying your job, enjoying each other, because that's what empowerment alignment is all about. So thanks for joining us on this people-centric podcast.
Thank you for listening to the People-Centered Podcast. We are so grateful for you joining us every week. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Also, feel free to share on your social media with everyone that you know. It really does help us. If you would like to contact us, I have put our information in the show notes. Please reach out anytime. We love hearing from you. We will be back next week with a new topic. Until then, be well and lead well.